Alright, so I wanted to make a quick video about some of my points of contention with the law enforcement in this country. One of them is the fact that people think that Antifa is treated as a terrorist organization. It's not. Okay? But what is interesting, you can look it up. Antifa is not a registered terrorist organization by our federal government. But do you want to know who a registered gang is? Well, that would be the Juggalos, which are insane clown posse fans that are literally the most disgusting excuse for human beings, if you could call them that. But they are not terrorists or criminal whatever. I mean, in fact, even the FBI says, it sounds like the riot, you know, how the media covered the riots. 85 to 90% of Juggalos are law-abiding music fans, but 5 to 10% are hardened, crazed criminals. I'm actually paraphrasing. They did not say hardened, crazed criminals, but they did say that they participate in illegal activity. And I would say a higher amount than that actually participate in illegal activity, such as drug use and things of that nature. However, I do not think it's very organized. The fact of the matter is this. As I pointed out, the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf, determined that white supremacists, a very vague term, are on par with ISIS. They're terrorists, okay? Without any proof. What is a white supremacist? It's a very vague term that can be manipulated to ostracize and abuse the general public. Now, what's funny with the Juggalos, according to my ex-girlfriend, I have very Juggalo-esque tendencies, but I don't think so. I don't see the Juggalo-esque tendencies. However, the thing is it's the easier the group is to ostracize, the easier it is to utilize them as a means to get political things done and to work through funding streams and things of that nature. Another thing is the FBI works with the SPLC, having had praised the SPLC in the past. Take note that the SPLC is known to have the SPLC is racist and sexist and is known to ostracize its own employees based on race and sex. Okay? And that's the truth. So, I mean, when you have the feds praising organizations like the SPLC, that's a joke of an organization that has made billions and billions of dollars selling the false idea that there's a racist behind every mailbox, you have to question the validity of some of these things. You also have to question the fact that certain groups like Antifa are not registered gangs. See, this is the thing. If you're going to say Juggalos, which are literally, as the FBI puts it, there's like, I don't know, a million individually identified Juggalos in the United States. Well, if that, and that they come together to perform illegal activities, well then what the hell is Antifa? I'll tell you what, I'd far rather be around a group of unruly Juggalos than I would a group of unruly Antifas. And the funny thing is, because Antifa and Juggalos share a lot of the same anti-racist attitudes, I would guarantee you that Antifa has a lot of Juggalos amongst its ranks. So if you can consider the Juggalos to be a criminal gang, how the hell is Antifa not a criminal gang? And I tweeted this out to the FBI, because the fact of the matter is, it does not make even common sense. But the thing is with Antifa, what is Antifa? Antifa is the militant wing of the Democratic Party. Now, I kept it quiet during the election because I wanted Joe Biden to win. But what the Democrats and the left have said in this country forever is, Antifa's imaginary, Antifa doesn't exist, blah, 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 blah. Yes, it damn well does, okay? And especially if you are a right-winger, And you do know that Antifa exists because you've tangled with them. Okay? So my point is that the FBI and law enforcement are not acting in the best interest of themselves or of this republic, and that's a big problem. That's a very big problem, and it has to do with how politics is integrated into law enforcement. Not law. See, this is the thing. I'm a progressive, and what does that mean that I'm a progressive? I want to use science to help form public policies that are in the best interest of the people. The idea is to put science into politics, but not to put politics into science. The problem that we have is the radical left in this country has put politics into science to the point where you have outrageous global warming nonsense that proclaims certain things that are not provable. And I'll leave a link to a list of things about that. But it's similar to how they're putting politics into law enforcement instead of putting law enforcement into politics. I would also like to see politicians that support law and order. But instead what you see is you see law enforcement that utilizes politics to ostracize individual groups of people. This is similar to the satanic panic of the 1980s and 1990s. Because Satanism was a minority religion that was on the fringes of what was considered socially acceptable. See, Judaism, for example, is a minority religion, but it is socially acceptable. Okay, because of because Christianity is an Abrahamic religion, and at the time Christianity was the predominant religion in the United States. Judaism remains a socially acceptable religion, but Satanism is on the fringes of what's socially acceptable. Until you get to know what it is, and Zena LaVey or Zena Schreck did a great deal of work showing what Satanism really was to help make it more socially acceptable. Now it's really loopy, and it's not what it was in the 80s. But my point is that by inserting politics into law enforcement, you see a destruction of the ability of law enforcement to operate properly. Okay, now with the Department of Homeland Security ostracizing white people, with this idea that, quote, white supremacists are terrorists, there's no proof of that. There's no, and what's funny is this. The next time somebody says that, like, for example, that dude that shot up the synagogue, there was that one dude, I made a video about it, about the mosque guy denouncing the guy. The guy that in New Zealand that did that thing in the mosque, I denounced him because he's a liar. He's not a fascist. He doesn't know what fascism is. But the next time somebody says, so-and-so is a white supremacist, I'm going to say, what's your proof on that? Because that's how it is. For example, when people say, well, how do you know those rioters were BLMers? Or how do you know those rioters were Antifa? Well, they were calling themselves BLM or Antifa, and they were wearing all the clothing that would dictate that they're BLM or Antifa. So, therefore, they must be BLM or Antifa. It would be the same way that they would say, well, that guy's a white supremacist. Well, how the hell do you know that that guy's a white supremacist? Are they a gang member? Because criminal activity is not exactly part of quote unquote white supremacy. Okay? There's nothing that says that if you believe in this or that with, white supremacy, that you should be committing crimes. In fact, to the opposite effect it would be if you actually understood some of these organizations and some of these organizations' values. So my point is that the politicizing of law enforcement is a terrible thing, and it's really detrimental to society. I'm going to leave links in the description showing these things so that people understand what I'm saying, that, our law enforcement is being utilized to ostracize people and to damage society and to basically shift a narrative or push a narrative that helps to turn this country more and more into a third world hellhole. And that's all for this video.